Hey guys, Neil here from RepRap Blog Phase, doing another tutorial for the Prusa Mendel. This is going to be going over the general electronics setup for the Prusa Mendel. For this one, you're going to need whatever electronics you decided to use. For this video, we're using the Gen 6 electronics by mendelparts.com. There's also Gen 3 by MakerBot, Gen 4 by MakerBot, ramps, electronics which are printable, and then a commercial derivative of it which is still open source, sold by ultimachine.com. Let's see. You're going to need your electronics, 3 opto in-stop RP pieces, which look like this right here, like an H. You're also going to need 3 opto in-stops, which can either be the opto variety or it can be a switch. You're going to need your 3 bolts to screw them in, your 6 washers, 3 nuts, and whatever you decide to use to restrict your cables. You will notice on this one that my setup's actually in some ways different than the wiki. Go with the wiki. What had happened was I started copying Prusa in one of his videos before I went through and checked the wiki information. So this one, according to the wiki, should be back here. This one should be over here, but I did get this one right. So this is the opto emplacement for the Z-axis, opto emplacement for the X-axis, which again, it doesn't really matter where you put them. As long as your flag gets, you're good. So there's the X opto and the Y opto. Also, when you do your electronics, you need to make sure that you have enough slack in your wires here so that when your X trolley goes all the way over to the right, you notice how there's still slack here. Get in here. You can see that my heater and my thermistor are hooked up there. Stepper wires for the extruder. I have them run through this black tube and down to the electronics. One unique thing about the Prusa Mendel is that it has 2 Z-axis motors. Reason that this is done is because the Z-axis motors only cost you about $12, but by the time you buy all the hardware to do the belting, it isn't costing you more than $12. So it's best just to go ahead and do the Prusa Mendel instead of the original Sales Mendel version, just because it ends up saving money and it gives you a whole lot more power on your Z-axis. That way you're not going to have as many jams. One thing you're going to notice is I haven't taped these yet. You do need to wrap tape here and across here to hold the motors down. But anyway, easiest way to wire the Z-axis in parallel I found is to run this motor over to the motor that is on the same side as your electronics, and then put both sets of wires in each one side of the terminal block, and then have your leads going to your electronics come out the other side. That's the easiest way I found. You can also just solder them together, but I like having access to be able to unscrew the motors. But anyway, so there's that. You can mount the electronics anywhere you want. You can actually mount them here. Clement, who's one of the designers of the Prusa Mendel, actually has his mounted there. Prusa has his, the guy who actually did the original designing on this, he actually has his laid flat here, and I think that's also the way the Maker Gear kit's going to be having theirs. You can choose to mount your power supply to the bot, or you can just have it ran separately. Let's see, you need to make sure it gives you directions on how to do your optos so that they trigger correctly. Main thing you need to make sure is that your opto end stop goes inside enough to get this back up here. The good thing about aluminum is it's very easy to fix. So you want your flags to go that resistance like that. That is the proper way an opto end stop should go in. And you should have that on each one of your axes. But that's the electrical setup for the Prusa Mendel. I hope this cleared up any confusion you had. If I've messed this up in any way, please comment in the video.